Hey guys, this is Jordan, and today I'm going to be talking about my autistic journey of autisticness and kind of explain how I figured out that I'm autistic and, yeah, and some of the recent stuff that has kind of happened with me regarding autism and uh, stuff that happens because I'm autistic. So I'll start with my early life and kind of move forward with things as we go along with this autistic journey of autisticness. And I say person with autism first before autistic person. I don't know, that's kind of my preference, but you can say whatever. I usually try to say that one because, yeah, and I'm not exactly perfect sometimes with that, but that's fine. But anyways, so when I was younger, I would always get into trouble, and uh, I would always be kind of nuisance to the teachers, and I wouldn't listen, and I had trouble focusing, and I had trouble sitting in my seat and not blurting out stuff, and let's see, and I had some developmental delays with some stuff, uh, and we figured out that I had ADHD when I was in, I think, kindergarten, and they would try to do stuff to like help me out, and so I wouldn't get into any trouble. And a lot of the time, I had to have a para with me that would write down on a point sheet about, if I'm focusing, if I'm paying attention, if I'm doing any of this stuff. And um, yeah, it was very difficult a lot of the time. So I would be put in these small rooms a lot of the time because I wouldn't uh, meet the requirements for said uh, teachers, and I kind of disrespect the class and talk when I wasn't supposed to, and interrupt. And um, I checked one time on my school discipline record, and I had probably 15 disciplines by the time I was in fourth grade that were written about because they were just so bad. And so uh, my parents had to always pick me up from school because I would get suspended and I would get into trouble because I wasn't really doing what I was told, and they had to sometimes chase me down to get me to listen, and I was a big troublemaker basically, uh, because I wasn't listening and stuff, and uh, it was just very difficult for me because of my, I guess, thought process can sometimes be a little bit incorrect, and I thought that uh, there's some stuff that was just crazy about the school because they would always get us to have to dance to this music or something. I thought it was very weird and ritualistic, and I didn't like that. I thought it was like they're forcing us to do stuff we didn't want to do, and it always made me very uncomfortable. And I uh, had always been kind of like that, and so I don't know how much in detail I should get with this, but when I was probably 7, an incident happened to me where I cannot really even say it on YouTube. It is very dark, and it had changed me really badly in unpredictable ways, and still affects me to this day with how I view my body and how I feel about things, and that kind of probably amplify my autism to kind of look for an escape, because I was very traumatized as a kid, and that incident really affected me negatively. So then I was diagnosed with, ADHD. I got put on medication for it. I caught up with my class, and then I would still get into trouble sometimes. I would still blurt out stuff and still kind of mess around and not do what I was told. So at one point, I was put in the room so many times, I promised I would never be put into said room again. And if I was to be put in said room again, I would be put in hell or some crazy thing like that, so that I never would do it again. So I didn't. I stopped doing it, and I started to, not get into any trouble as much, because I had made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to. And that was probably the best thing that I've ever done in my entire life, was to kind of relinquish myself from getting into trouble, because I knew I was doing wrong, and I knew that I needed to listen and to pay attention and to learn from my mistakes. But I was stubborn. I was scared, I guess, to learn from my mistakes. I was scared that if I let my guard down, I would get hurt again. And because I was, like I said, very traumatized as a kid, and I was very scared to let my guard down. Also, part of being autistic, I didn't understand the social cues as much, so the way I saw having friends was I just would tease kids and think that, would make us friends. Like one time I ran away with this kid's backpack, thinking that like he would become my friend and we would be close friends, and that's kind of how I thought friends were made. That wasn't until I made actual friends, and that was in 5th grade, and I realized that that wasn't how you made friends. You don't, you don't abuse your friends. You don't put them in tough positions and, make them have to fight for their stuff, to get their stuff back and chase you down the hallways. And yeah, so I stopped that nonsense. I got a few cool friends that treated me right and were very respectful to me. They even came over to my house a few times, and that was kind of nice to have friends that actually would care about me and hang out with me and treat me just like any other kid. And it was just really nice of them, and we were kind of like a friendship group. And one of the kids left at the end of the year, and I was very sad. He left me this, oh, I remember, I kept it for the longest time, but it was this paper bird, and it basically symbolized our friendship. And on it he wrote, "You were a good friend, Jordan." And it was very sloppy handwriting, because we were like, I don't know, like 10 or something, 9 or 10, but it was very sloppy handwriting. And my teacher said that he had left it on my desk, and I was surprised that I left this much of an impact on someone to want to remember me and think good of me. And that was, that led me to having more friends eventually. And when I was in 5th grade, I became friends with the neighbors across the street. They liked our dog Joey, and these two girls came up. They, I remember what suckers they were sucking, these green apple suckers, and they're like, "Oh, can we pet your dog?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure." And then after that, we became good friends for a very long time. And one of them was kind of bad to me. One of them would kind of mess around with me, and I realized how uncomfortable that made me feel, because she would take my stuff and run away with it, or like kind of mess around with me and tease me and stuff, I realized how much I hated it. So then I realized that, oh, this is not how you treat friends. I learned that lesson again with her, and that, lying isn't okay. She lied about her age sometimes. She would say, oh, I'm a year older than me. And, because I don't know, I was kind of a smaller kid for a long time. I, I don't know. She's probably like the same height as me, even though she was a year younger than me. But, uh, yeah, the other girl, though, she was very nice and very kind and would tell stories in the basement, and we would just listen to her tell these stories. And me and my sister and the two girls were very close. And we even came up with dance moves together, and it was kind of cool. So then I also became friends with many people actually throughout my time. I became friends with just many, and I had many crushes throughout my time. I didn't know how to, this is another thing with autistic people. It's kind of hard for us to really initiate that. So I had a very awkward time coming to terms with my sexuality and having that experience and having crushes on people. And I had crushes on girls first, and it was just very awkward for me. And I would say, I don't know, I was very outspoken as a kid. I would just flat out say, well, okay, it was hard at times. Like, okay, I would kind of flirt with them. I wouldn't really ask them out like right away, but I just not I don't know how to explain this. um, I would kind of uh, oh my gosh, I'm kind of nervous talking about this. I would kind of talk to them in a kind of hinting at it, I guess, kind of way. And a lot of the time I got rejected. In fact, like basically all the times I tried to get a girl to like me, she would never like me. I was just always rejected by them. And I began to think that girls didn't have a sexuality at all because, why aren't they attracted to me? Why do they not like me? And I realized that, oh, they're liking these other boys and not me, and that kind of made me a little bit jealous. And I don't know, it just wasn't fair. It felt like, because I don't know, there's this one girl I had a very deep crush on, and we were very close friends in sixth grade. And I don't even know. I don't even know. It's like she, I tried to ask her out. I was so nervous though, and this was one of the first times that this had happened to me, where it was just so nerve wracking to even, say, oh, can we, the I didn't even know how to ask it. So I told my friend to ask her for me, and it turned out really bad. And the last 9 days of school were hell, and she hated me, and I couldn't handle that. And oh my gosh, I was so bad to her after that. I was like, do you hate me? Do you not like me? And I was freaking out about her not liking me, and, like that she hated me. And but yeah, that was nerve wracking. So, one of the first times that I was starting to figure out that I was autistic was, I'm very close with my nephew. He's my best friend, and I care very deeply about him. We started out where I was just kind of a bully to him, like I was to a lot of people. And I didn't like how he imitated me and tried to follow me around, and I didn't like that. I didn't like him doing that, but we became very close friends for like 10 years, and uh, he was he's like 3 years younger than me, so I'm 20 right now, so yeah, you can guess his age. But anyways, it it just it it was because I wanted him to spend the night over with us, and his dad would not take it. So I had called him abusive, and that's when I discovered that I needed therapy, and that, you can't just say that to someone. You can't just say, "Oh, you're abusive because you didn't let, you did this and this and this." Even if he was abusive, I don't think, yeah, I should say that. That's not my place. I don't know, but he got very upset with that. I was sent to therapy for many years, and because of my trauma that I faced as a kid, and that was an experience. I went to this autistic counselor, and she taught me jack shit. She, I didn't really know how to discuss with her about my symptoms of autism because I don't have sensory issues. I don't have those kind of things, but I just have social issues, and she didn't really know how to help me with those. And I would just talk to her about some other stuff, like, oh, this one girl has a crush on me or something. One time I said to her, and I might date her, and that was when I was like 14, and that relationship, I don't even want to go into it, but that was awful. And then uh, I switched therapists because I got a new, well, autistic people have special interests. One of my special interests is FNAF. So I do a lot of FNAF stuff, and I talk about it a lot, and because I really, it's one of my little interests, I guess. And uh, so, yeah, one of my spiraling points was during COVID. I had a kind of episode where I don't even know it, man, this is crazy shit. But basically, I stopped wanting to see my therapist because I thought she didn't have the right motives. I went to see this other therapist, and I thought she didn't have the right motives. And then I saw this new therapist that I saw for like 3 years during this time that had, the motives I wanted during that time. And not the motives, not the type of therapist I actually needed. She didn't really help me. And that I can't forgive. That was very bad on me, because at this point, 3 years ago, I was 17, and sure, a lot of 17-year-olds don't know what they want, and I, of course, was one of those 17-year-old boys that didn't know what I wanted. So I have this therapist, and yeah, she didn't do jack shit, just like my first therapist did. And then finally, I went back to the second therapist, and she's been helping me immensely. And she's gotten me in touch with this autistic professional where she's also autistic, so she understands what's really going on in my head. And that has been very helpful because, you know, I don't. I don't understand my own brain sometimes. I don't understand why it does the stuff it does, and um, why I act the way I act, and think the way I think, and you know, I'm just trying to figure myself out with this, and it's been very helpful so far. I've only seen her once, but I'm hoping to see her again. And basically, I talked to her about my issues. And one of those issues is that sometimes I overstep my boundaries and, have the audacity to do that. And one of my boundaries I broke with my sister, and I overstepped boundaries because I was asking too many questions, and she got annoyed with that. And yeah, that was, that I can't forgive myself for that, but I've learned that I can't do that. And I want to be close with her. I want to have love I want to have a loving relationship with my sister, and I can't do that if I'm going to be breaking her boundaries and her rules and stuff. So yeah, another thing is sometimes I just feel very alien. Sometimes I feel like like I don't know what to say. I don't know how to act in some moments, and when everyone else feels like they got a textbook on how to be normal, I feel like I lack that textbook, and I'm never really understood, you know, why it's like so different for me. I mean, I know I have a label for it, right? But I don't know why it has to be different for me. I don't know why, you know, but I mean, other than that, it's like I have anxiety, and that's difficult for me to talk to people sometimes. I get a little anxious and I freeze up, and I just freeze up like that, and I have to try to recalibrate myself, and I'm like, okay, you need to be brave. Come on. You know, I have to do that, and it is hard for me to talk to people sometimes because I freeze up and I get all anxious, and I need to just realize uh, that I'm talking to a person with feelings and emotions of their own, and sometimes I forget that like I'm just frozen, and I'm thinking, oh no, am I enough for this person in this conversation? Am I overstepping my boundaries? And is this person going to think I'm weird? And I overly think that, and it consumes me, and I basically have to tell myself that that's not what it's, and I have to basically tell myself that that is not what's going on, and that this person's just being generally nice to me. And I could give you many examples of this happening, and it's happened with various people where I'll freeze up, and sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's better. It's happened with every type of person, though. Anyone I've ever talked to that I get any slight anxiety from, I freeze up like that a little bit, but just for a second, and then I kind of recalibrate myself fast enough to get back into the conversation. But one of the times that this happened was when I was talking to uh, my brother-in-law's mom. I was talking to her, and I froze up, and I don't know, I got anxious, and I kind of shake sometimes when I'm anxious. And I stopped myself. I'm like, you know what? She's, in a good mood. She's not going to hurt you. I get anxious like that sometimes, where I just freak out that someone's going to hurt me and I'm not safe. And I just realized that's anxiety speaking, and that's probably left over from our ancestors, where it's like, you know, where our ancestors used to freeze up because of danger happening, and I guess that might be left over in me, or it might just be a trauma response sometimes I have just randomly with any random person. So there's a lot of stuff my brain processes uh, that my brain processes differently because I'm autistic, and neurodiverse meaning that my brain has, I guess, different than most people's brains. And I just had a therapist say this to me. I'm not 100% sure that I'm autistic because they didn't give me a brain scan to know for certain. uh, I know pretty well that I'm ADHD at like 90% sure, because the medication did kind of work for me, but it only worked for me for like my childhood, and then after that it kind of stopped working as well. So yeah, so basically, another thing that's kind of a struggle for me as an autistic person is that I can have autistic meltdown, not meltdown, but like, what's it called? Shutdown for like a few months, and it's basically like depression, but it's way worse. And I've had events where I've been triggered to have that, and that's like the worst thing on earth. And I don't think anyone should deal with that. And, yeah. So if you're autistic and you watch my content or you're watching this video or whatever, just write down in the comment section about your experiences with this, and maybe we can relate to each other. And thanks for watching. I don't think I'm going to edit this. I think I'm just going to keep it how it is, and if I have weird parts in it, that's fine. I don't feel like editing right now. I'm kind of tired. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. This has been Jordan. Bye.